Today's lesson is an era of new realities. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And my name is Helen.
And today we're going to be talking about technology. We're going to be talking about virtual reality and things like that. But more importantly, we're going to be talking about something called extended reality. And because we have this new technology, it's a new era of new realities.
Yes, an era is a period of time that has a particular characteristic, a particular quality. So you can talk about the psychedelic era, which would refer to the mid to late 1960s when music was a certain way and people dressed a certain way. It's also known as the hippie era. So an era is basically a period of time, it could be 10 years, 50 years, that can be summed up by certain characteristics, certain ideals.
Exactly. And of course, we should mention that this word can be pronounced two ways. You can say era or era. Both are acceptable. Okay, so let's find out what this is all about. Let's listen to the introductory paragraph right now, and then we'll come back to explain it to you.
An era of new realities. What exactly is reality? It's a question that's been baffling philosophers for centuries. Now, however, thanks to modern technology, the question is about to become even more complex. As we no longer have only our base reality to consider, we have extended reality too.
大家好，标题中我们可以看到名词 era， 也可以发音作 era， 它的意思是时代或是年代、时期。例如 I wonder what it would be like to live in the horse and carriage era. 我真想知道生在只有马车的时代是什么情形。又或者说 The 1960s were an era that saw many cultural changes. 1960年代是个见证许多文化变迁的年代。再来我们介绍动词 baffle， 它指的是使困惑或是使迷糊。例如 The behavior of the bird baffled the observers. 这只鸟的行为使观察员困惑。或者Scientists are baffled by the results of the experiment. 科学家们对那个实验的结果困惑不已。接下来我们看到名词 philosopher， 它的意思是哲学家。举例来说 Philosophers think about the world very differently from most people. 哲学家思考世界的方式和大多数人大不相同。又或者说 With his interest in knowledge and the meaning of life, Todd considered himself a philosopher. 因为对知识和生命意义的兴趣 Todd 认为自己是一位哲学家。再来我们介绍单字 extended， 它是形容词，意思是延展的或是延长的。例如 Morris has just returned from an extended vacation. Morris 刚休完长假回来。又或者说 The show is so popular that it will be in town for quite an extended time. 该表演非常受欢迎，所以它将在城里停留蛮长的时间。另外去掉这个字的字尾 ed 就会变成动词 extend， 它的意思是展开或是延伸。例如 Casper was having a wonderful time in Thailand, so he decided to extend his stay. Casper 在泰国玩得很开心，所以他决定延长停留的时间。或是 Tracy extended her contract with the company for another year. Tracy 跟公司再延长1年的合约。
So today's lesson begins with a very philosophical question. What exactly is reality? Well, it's a question that's been baffling philosophers for centuries. In fact, this question, what is reality, is a question that philosophers have been thinking about for hundreds of years. A philosopher is somebody who studies the meaning of life, the meaning of existence, and tries to explain what religion means and why are we here in this world, why were we born. All of these big questions are questions that philosophers think about. And the question of what is reality exactly is one that has been baffling philosophers. To baffle means to confuse, or it's a question that you're trying to solve, but you're unable to solve it. So it's baffling you.
Right, the baffling mystery of the murdered boy. Nobody knows who did it and why. So, yeah, it's a baffling mystery. Again, it's quite puzzling. Nobody really knows about it. And, of course, a philosopher who is someone who thinks about the meaning of life and stuff like that, like Lao Tzu and Mengzi and Socrates and Plato and people like that. They are famous philosophers. And, of course, they've been discussing the concept of reality for centuries. Now, however, thanks to modern technology, the question is about to become even more complex. As we no longer have only our base reality to consider, we have extended reality too. So I guess we're at the beginning of a new era here. We've got modern technology, and this question, well, it's not going to be simple anymore. This question of what reality is going to be more complicated. It's going to be more complex because we no longer have only our base reality to consider. We don't have this base reality anymore. Things have changed. What we have now is something called extended reality. And here, extended is an adjective. It's from the verb to extend, which means to make something longer. So, for example, if you're a tourist to Taiwan, and you have a 2-week tourist visa, and you've discovered that, hey, this is really a great place. I can't see everything in just 2 weeks. I want to extend my visa. I want to stay longer.
Yes, so extended usually refers to time. If you want to extend a period of time, you're making it longer. But what does it mean to extend reality? How can reality be extended if it's not something that you can really measure? So that's something we're going to look at in the following part of today's lesson.
Okay, so let's move on to the following part of today's lesson. We'll listen to it first, and then we will discuss it.
Extended reality, or XR, is a term that's used to describe technologies that add another layer of reality onto our own. In some cases, this means adding virtual elements into the real world. In others, it means replacing the real world with an entirely virtual one. Currently, there are 3 types of extended reality. Augmented reality, or AR, adds digital images into the real world when it is viewed through a device such as a smartphone. Many people are already familiar with AR from the playful filters that one finds in many photo and video apps. For example, the ones that make you look like you have rabbit ears or a cat face.
第二部分我们看到单字 virtual， 它是形容词，指的是电脑虚拟的。例如 The video game lets people explore a virtual fantasy world. 这款电玩游戏让人探索虚拟的幻想世界。或是 A virtual simulator was used to train pilots. 虚拟模拟器被用来训练飞行员。最后我们看到名词 filter， 它的意思是摄影的滤镜，也可以是过滤器。例如 My camera app has several filters, including one that makes colors look brighter. 我的相机应用程式有好几个滤镜，其中包括一个可以让颜色看起来更亮的滤镜。或是 You should buy a filter if you want to drink tap water. 如果你要生饮自来水，你应该买一个过滤器。另外，这个字也可以当作动词，有过滤的意思。例如 The water in the fish tank is regularly filtered to keep it fresh and clean. 鱼缸里的水会定期过滤，以确保新鲜干净。最后一个句子Oscar filtered the water so that it was safe to drink. Oscar 把水过滤过，以便安全饮用。
As the first sentence of this part says, extended reality, or XR, is a term that's used to describe technologies that add another layer of reality onto our own. So extended reality is a fixed term. It's a well-known term, and this term can be shortened to XR. And it's used to describe technologies, software, programs that add another layer of reality to the one that you are already experiencing or living.
Right, so we're trying to define what extended reality is, and we use this term to describe these new technologies that add another aspect or realm of reality onto our own. So we've got our base reality, our everyday lives, and this technology is going to add some more on top of that reality. That's what a layer is, something that's on top of something else. And in some cases, this means adding virtual elements into the real world. So here we've got the word virtual. That just means almost like reality. It's not completely reality. It's not completely what we're talking about, but it's pretty close.
Yes, and another meaning of virtual means something that is created, or it's used to describe something that's created by computers or appearing on computers or the internet. So virtual in the original sense before computers came along meant almost. It was a virtual disaster, you could say, to describe something that was close to a disaster, but not completely. After computers came along, virtual reality and virtual games, all of these terms also came along to describe things that have been created by computers.
I guess you could say simulated reality, something that looks like it's real, but it really isn't. So we do use the word virtual reality when we talk about those headsets that people wear and they kind of can see a different world and stuff like that. I've never tried that myself, but I would like to try it to see what it's like. So we incorporate these virtual elements, we add them to our real world, our real lives, and in others, it means replacing the real world with an entirely virtual one. So we've got two kinds here. One is just adding elements into our real world, and then in the other, it means that we replace the real world entirely with a virtual world. It's no longer the same at all. It's totally different.
Currently, there are 3 types of extended reality, or 3 types of XR. Augmented reality, or AR, adds digital images into the real world when it is viewed through a device such as a smartphone. So that's the first type of extended reality. The first type of extended reality is called augmented reality. Now, when something is augmented, it means it has increased in size or amount or value. So you can augment your income by getting another job, which means getting more income, making more money. Here, augmented reality just means that the reality is, perhaps you could say, more intense, more real, or more enjoyable, more intense, basically.
Yep, you just add things to something that already exists. And if something's digital, of course, it has to do with computers, with the codes. Digital, of course, refers to different kinds of codes, all those bits of information. And, of course, we're adding these digital images into the real world when we view it through a device, such as a smartphone, your tablet, your PC, or whatever. And those are some examples of devices. A device, of course, is a special kind of machine, usually an electronic one, such as a smartphone, an MP3 player, or whatever.
Right. So a good example of augmented reality could be the game Pokemon Go, because the augmented reality is being added on as a layer to your actual reality, and this is experienced through your smartphone or some other device.
Okay, so many people are already familiar with AR from the playful filters that one finds in many photo and video apps. For example, the ones that make you look like you have rabbit ears or a cat face. That's quite appropriate for the year of the rabbit. And we've all seen these kinds of pictures that people post on social media. A cute picture of themselves flashing a peace sign, and then we've got these computer rabbit ears added, or these whiskers to make you look like a cat. That's an example of augmented reality, adding things digitally to pictures that already exist in the real world.
Right, and this is done as an added layer, as we mentioned before, extended reality in the form of augmented reality, a reality that is added on as a layer or on top of the reality that you are already living.
And that's what augmented reality is, and that's the first kind of extended reality. We've got a couple of more to talk about, but the first type involves these filters. And you use those to apply things to pictures. Of course, you've seen those filters on your phone. And filters, of course, reminds me of the old days of photography. When I was taking pictures with film, you would put filters on your lens to change the effect of the images. Like if you were shooting in black and white and you wanted a high contrast picture, you would put a red filter on your lens. Or maybe if you're shooting color film and you want to get rid of reflections, then you would use a polarizer filter. And again, these are things that kind of change reality. They make things look a little different.
That's right. So we've talked about augmented reality. In the next section, we're going to look at another type of XR, and that would be mixed reality.
A more immersive form of augmented reality called mixed reality, MR, is also possible, though it usually requires wearing a headset. In MR, you're able to place digital objects in your local environment and interact with them. You could, for example, decorate your own house with entirely virtual works of art.
Now, a more immersive form of augmented reality called mixed reality, or MR, is also possible, though it usually requires wearing a headset. So this second form of XR is called mixed reality, or MR. And this form of XR is more immersive. When something is more immersive, it means that it makes a person feel more completely involved or engaged in an activity. So you could describe a game as being immersive if that game makes you feel like you're completely lost in it and you're completely engaged with playing this game. And that's what can be said about this other type of extended reality, which is called mixed reality.
Right, so it's more immersive, you're more involved with this, you're not so much outside of it. And this requires wearing a headset. A headset, of course, is something that you wear on your head. It will have the visual aspect. There'll be a screen in front of your eyes, and there will also be speakers around your ears, so you can both get the sight and sounds of things. Maybe in the future, they'll put something over your nose so you can get the smells as well, and then something over your mouth so that you can get the taste.
That would be interesting. So in MR, or mixed reality, you're able to place digital objects in your local environment and interact with them. So let's say you're in a park, in your local park. What you can do with mixed reality, if you have this headset, is you can put digital objects right in front of you. A digital object is an object that doesn't exist in your traditional reality because it's digital, so it was created by this form of technology. But you can put it right in front of you in your local environment and you can interact with it. To interact means to communicate with somebody else or to communicate with a thing, to react to what that thing has done or that person has said. Usually when you talk about a game where you're not playing alone and you're playing with other people or playing with a computer, you can say that this game is interactive. It's an interactive game.
Yep, that's the adjective form, interactive. Of course, a lot of websites allow interactive communication with the hosts. You can call them up on the phone or whatever, or on the internet and talk to them directly. That's interactive. And of course, to interact is the verb. And again, you will place those digital objects in your local environment, and then you will be able to interact with them. And of course, you could, for example, we'll give you an example here. It says you could decorate your own house with entirely virtual works of art. So maybe they do that at sports events where they project advertisements on the sides of the field, like in soccer matches or football matches. Of course, they've got those advertising billboards around the outside of the stadium, and then they project advertisements on those boards that only people watching TV can see. The people at the actual game won't be able to see those things.
That sounds really interesting, and it's a whole new way for big companies to make money and advertise their products.
And so to review, of course, we're talking about extended reality, and we've talked about two types of extended reality today. We talked about augmented reality, and finally we talked about mixed reality. And in our next lesson, we're going to go on and talk about the third part called virtual reality. And we look forward to telling you all about it then. But before we say goodbye today, we'd like to hear from Hanny once again.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文一开始写到，现实究竟是什么呢？几个世纪以来，这个问题一直困扰着哲学家。然而现在拜现代科技所赐，这个问题将变得更加复杂。好，那文中是用 thanks to modern technology 来表达拜现代科技所赐。那么这个片语介系词 thanks to 就表示由于、因为或者是幸亏，之后可以接人或是事物。Thanks to 的意思其实就跟 because of 很接近，不过 thanks to 常用在正面的原因，常带有这种幸亏啊、多亏的语义。好，举例来说 We had no trouble finding the place.Thanks to Google Maps， 幸亏有 Google 地图，我们轻轻松松就找到那个地方了。好，那么另外 Thanks to 有时也会用反讽语气来表达归咎的原因哦。举例来说 Thanks to you, we now have to do it all over again. 因为你，我们现在又必须重来一遍了啦。好，那么刚刚的课文句子，它后半句就是写到说，因为我们不再只有基本的现实要考虑，我们还有延展的实境Extended reality。 那这时候文中它用到 no longer 去表达不再或者是再也不的那种意思。那 no longer 是副词片语，它常常摆在一般动词之前或是 be 动词之后。 no longer 就相当于 not any longer 或者是 not anymore。 好，举例来说 His parents no longer lived there，就是说他爸妈不住在那里了。那这个例句你也可以说成 His parents don't live there any longer， 或者是 His parents don't live there anymore。 好，那么课文第三部分呢，则介绍了混合实境 mixed reality。 有一句写到说，在混合实境中，你能够将数位物体放置在本地环境中，并与它们互动。那文中是用动词 interact 来表达互动。我们来学它的字首字根。INTER 这个字首呢，它有 between 或是 among 的意思，可以表达两者或两者以上之间的，或者是可以表达彼此相对应的，还可以表达在什么什么中间等等。那么在 interact 这个字当中，它的字首 INTER 表示互相，字根 ACT 表示行动，那么合在一起 interact 就有互动啊、交流或是相互作用、互相影响的意思。我们也补充两个有 INTER 这个字首的单字。第一个补充的是 international， 它的字首 INTER 表示在之间， national 是国家的，那在国家与国家之间就表示是国际性的、国际上的。第二个补充的是 interject， 它的字首 INTER 表示在之间，那么字根 JECT Jacked 这个部分我们先前学过是丢掷的意思。那在别人的对话谈话过程中，你突然丢出一些话来打断人家，这样应该可以联想到 interject 它有插话插嘴的意思。所以当有人说 If I may interject ... 这就像我们中文说的请容我打个岔，像这样的意思。好，那么以上今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Era.The Queen's death marked the end of an era for the country. Philosopher. Kant's writings on moral matters made him one of Germany's most famous philosophers. Extended. The students decided to take an extended break for lunch before continuing their studies. Virtual. The game includes a virtual hotel that players can rest in to heal. Digital.The sound engineer made digital copies of the songs on the old record. Device. The plane's pilot reminded the passengers to turn off their electronic devices before landing. Filter. The photo app has a filter that automatically increases the contrast of images. Interact. Javier likes to interact with store clerks, waiters, and other workers he meets during the day.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Helen.
I am Roger.
See you next time.